Hey guys, I'm Mark Allen, BHSpringSolutions LLC and BHSpringSolutions.com. This is really a combination of High Power University as a session and not a High Power University session because it's really a subject matter that goes beyond that. This is a subject matter of stopping power, and there's been a lot of confusion, disagreement, and things about quote stopping power and when it comes to choice of handgun caliber. It's the primary reason why we have so many different handgun calibers these days, is because there's a lot of differences of opinion and differences about that. I'm going to just say one thing right now. If it is necessary to stop an attack, the bigger the hole that is made, the better. The more trauma that is caused immediately is better. In other words, incapacitation means that an attacker, from a defensive standpoint, an attacker is no longer a threat to shoot you. And that is the goal. When anytime a defensive shooting is necessary, the goal is to stop the attack, and that means stopped. That means that the attacker did not get shot 3 times, and then kill 2 more people before he finally bled out. That's not incapacitated. Granted, 3 shots maybe in that example I just gave did kill the guy. However, if he took out several other people on his way out, that was not incapacitation. He expired from the trauma, but he was not incapacitated enough to stop killing people. And there's the stories, like I just explained, are legion. I mean, there are just so many you can find of bad guys who did depart this life, and on their way to departing killed multiple people because they were still firing, on their way to bleeding out. Stories are so many of people people shot in the heart, shot in a lung, and they kept shooting and killing people, several, before they finally, the trauma of their internal organs finally took over and stopped them. That is the subject of this video and stopping power. Several years ago, I read an article, and it was by a gentleman named Jim Higginbotham, I do believe, and he showed some studies, and it seemed to me to be the most credible data that I had seen compiled on stopping power of major handgun calibers. And I think this sorts this out. It did for me, in terms of helping to get things more understandable. And specifically, what I'm going to be specifically talking about is the high power pistol in 9mm, the high power pistol in 40 Smith & Wesson, the 1911 pistol in 45 ACP. The interesting thing that I found in that article was, he said that the average number of hits or shots into an attacker that had to be stopped by law enforcement or otherwise, with a 9mm was 5 to 7 rounds. Now again, everything here is very much predicated on shot placement. That shot placement is everything. I don't care if you have a 22 pistol. A 22 is lethal. If the shot placement is quality, it can be a one-shot stop, no question. If it lands right here, or here, or here, or here, most of the time that's going to be a one-shot stop pretty quickly. The other one-shot stop is a spinal cord shot, and that's a very difficult thing to count on, and it's a difficult target because usually you're shooting through the body from the front to the spinal cord, and good guys do not shoot anybody in the back. So the only way you're getting a spinal cord shot, is from a front hit, most of the time. The article went on. 9mm average 5 to 7 rounds to create incapacitation, meaning conclusive stopping of the attack. The attacker cannot continue and is no longer a threat. 40 Smith & Wesson was 3 to 5, I do believe, or maybe it was 3 to 4 rounds, and the 45 ACP was 2 to 3. So when you think in terms of, okay, approximately 6, approximately 4, approximately 2 or 3 in a 45, and then you start thinking about capacity in most modern handguns. My 9mm high power that I've carried for 30 years, more of the 30 years than not, it's been carried with a 15-round Metgar magazine and one in the chamber, so there's 16 rounds available to me. Understanding that it may take 5 to 7 rounds to incapacitate an attacker. So you can take 16 and divide by that and figure out about how much stopping power, quote, stopping power, I have with a 9mm at 5 to 7 rounds per perpetrator, and you can figure out about how much stopping power that I have there. With a 40 Smith & Wesson, you can take the 10 rounds and the one in the chamber, so 11 rounds, divide that by the 3 to 4, say average 3.5 rounds per perpetrator, and I'm thinking in terms of if there's 3 that come through my side door right now armed, and that has to be handled, how much stopping power do I have theoretically again? The 40 Smith & Wesson, you can divide that out and figure that out. And the 1911 in a 45, I've got an 8-round magazine here, one in the chamber, so I've got 9 shots here and a 2 to 3 shots to create incapacitation on average. If you divide that out, the question is going to become more, how confident are you in your accuracy? Because that's going to be the overriding factor, more so than this question, well, should I carry a 45 or a 9mm or maybe a 40 Smith & Wesson? If you had a calculator and you divided those things out, man, there's just not that much difference in terms of stopping power based on the capacities that I just showed you, which are variable, and as you up the diameter of the round, you lower the volume in terms of number of rounds that you can carry. The overriding question becomes, how confident are you in your accuracy, really? Because all things else being equal, you will typically see an attacker incapacitated faster with a 45 ACP than with a 9mm. However, if you shoot a 9mm more accurately than a 45 ACP, you better be having the 9mm, because again, past all of this question of, what's a better man stopper, what's a better this or that, there's a story of a serial killer who killed, I think, 11 people with one shot from a 25 ACP, like a baby Browning size handgun, with one shot. It's ridiculous to think that any handgun caliber, any bullet is not a, quote, man stopper. All of them are lethal. I believe that the question more important is, if I'm able to shoot this 9mm more accurately, in other words, if I'm able to place one when I want it, where I want it, and have confidence in it, that's probably my better choice. For years, I've used a 9mm about 9 months out of the year in Indiana, and a 45 ACP 1911 for about 3 months out of the year in Indiana. Never felt like I was underserved either way. and it made sense to me. But my confidence in being able to plant a accurate first shot and however many follow-up shots it is required in order to stop an attack with these handguns, my confidence is sufficient that I never felt like I was making a bad decision in this picture. But again, past the, all the debates about, well, this caliber is better stopping power than this caliber and so forth, we are all pondering those kinds of questions, legitimately questioning, if the worst case scenario happens and I must stop an attack with lethal force, what is it that I want on my side? And I think the best answer still, I've demonstrated to you just by statistics, I've got about the same amount of stopping power, roughly, with all three of these handguns. I've got 16 here, 11 here, and 9 there, and I would be well served by any of them, really. I would reach for the one that I have the most confidence in shooting accurately, repeatedly, and I'm not going to share with you which one that would be, but if the door broke down right now, one of these would be grabbed sooner than the other ones. It's the one that I have shot the most, the one that has created the most confidence in me, the one that I have shot in drills and it's looked like a tack driver in my hand. Sure, that's going to be the one that I'm going to shoot for, or I'm going to reach for instinctively, and it's just will just happen reflexively. I had an incident, where we live out here. We're about a mile from our nearest neighbor, and I had an incident 10 or 15 years ago, and this particular handgun, my primary carry high power, was actually in my safe, and I had a Kareen Mark III, I think, that I had been carrying a little bit, and had been shooting some and had been working on, and it was a nice handgun, and there something happened here, at night, and I thought it was possible that we had company, and not the kind of company you expect like at 1 o'clock in the morning, and instinctively I found myself heading toward the safe to get the handgun that I was most confident in my hand, and I just did that reflexively, not conscious thought. And the Kareen that I had would certainly serve the purpose, very, very well. But I judged that I had time to get to my preference, and that is instinctively where I headed at the time. And what I thought was something was nothing, and as it turned out. But my instincts were to reach for the handgun that I had the most confidence in, and my argument is that overrides caliber choice, that overrides, quote, stopping power, it overrides all the ballistic gelatin that's ever been exploded. What do you feel most confident with? I will never forget when I bought this particular high power in 1990, is an 89 manufacturer. I didn't even know what a Browning high power was the day I bought it. I went to a squirrel hunting woods down the road from here, and I shot it. And the thing that got me was I put some targets and hung them up on a tree, in the woods, and I started shooting at them. And everything I pointed at, I hit with complete regularity, and it was almost stunning that I could be so accurate with something out of the box as I was with this handgun. I'll never forget what it felt like that day to walk out of that woods and think to myself, so this is what it feels like when you have so much confidence that if worse come to worse and I had to plant one somewhere in order to stop an attack, my confidence that I can plant one where I need to, when I need to, is so high at this point and it was, and it remains so. That this is a different level of confidence and a different, not arrogance, but confidence, that if the worst comes to worst, I can handle, whatever it is. So this is Mark Allen, BH Spring Solutions LLC, bhspringsolutions.com. We thank you for watching.